and welcome to another episode of Gaming the System, where we are going to be talking today about artificial intelligence and what it means for gaming, and particularly equity in gaming. And the future of some of our favourite characters in our favourite games. So that's going to be quite a heavy topic, I think, but it's also a really, really interesting one, and I think we're going to have a really interesting chat about that today. But before we get into all of that, I just wanted to ask Alex and Matt what they have been doing recently. And I thought one of the questions that we used to always ask at the end of a day in my family when I was growing up was my mum always used to sit us down to dinner, and then she'd be like, so what have you done today that was exciting and interesting? So you don't have to think, excuse my cat, you don't have to come up with something today, but would you like to share anything that you've been up to that's exciting and interesting?
I can share something, yes.
Go ahead.
Recently, I went to a what they call an artist village. It's called the Watts Gallery Artist Village, and it's quite close to where I am currently living. It's very cool. It's basically this artist village that was established by in the Victorian times, or just after Queen Victoria, that was set up on the estate of a sort of old, I don't know if it's Tudor, but it's decorated in Tudor style, old sort of manor house. And there's loads of really cool galleries with lots of contemporary art in them. And they had an exhibition on the weekend that we went, all to do with stereoscopy or stereoscopy. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's like essentially Victorian VR. Victorian virtual reality.
Wow.
So it was all Brian May's collection, the guitarist, Sir Brian May from Queen, who I'm a big fan of anyway. But he has an absolutely massive collection of all these stereoscopic images, and they were all on display. And it was like these little goggles, like 3D glasses that you had to like put up to your eyes and then try and focus on both sides of the image. And then it would kind of make this sort of pseudo 3D image. And there was all sorts of really cool photographs that were part of it. So they had one that was kind of running around on a digital display that you could all sit down and look in. That was themed for Halloween, which was really cool. So all these old like mock-ups of skeletons, and like it would be like the fire crew of the devil, and it was all these like skeletons with a fire engine and stuff, and then their eyes would turn all red and the image would be colorized as part of the Halloween sort of display, which was really cool. It was just really fun to look at and see the history of those images and things in Victorian times. But it was also a lovely sort of place to spend time in because it was all in the woods, and there was a lovely cafe and shop and things. So very sort of bordering on middle age, excellent day out. But it was very fun, and we enjoyed ourselves a lot. Yes.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's like sounds awesome. I'm kind of quite like to go and see that myself.
Very cool.
What about you, Matt? What have you been up to?
So exciting thing for me in my ongoing crusade to learn how to mod games. I have swapped from a slightly less frustrating game, Stray, with the cat who keeps on defying me, to Hellblade, because that's another relatively simply put together game. And I have been changing. So my thing is I want to make a high contrast mode. And the way to do that, the simplest way is to change the texture. So every texture is a PNG image. It's all a square. Everything you see in a game is a square image wrapped around polygons, which still blows my mind. And so I've been turning Senua pink texture by texture, because you need a bright popping colour, and pink pops perfectly against the sort of grey murky background. And so the way you do it, you make the pink image, and then you have to call it the same name as the original image, and then the patching system, it treats it as if it's a game update. So it loads my pink square instead of the normal one. And so I've got pink strands in the hair, pink body, pink that head bag that I showed you both, and a pink sword. But two of the other elements that I changed to pink haven't changed to pink. And so that's just another area where I go, I just left going, well, I thought I understood something, but then you just go, oh, I don't know what I don't know about that. So I'm still very gradually just working my way through it. But the fact that I'm actually changing things in the game is endlessly exciting every time it happens.
That's awesome. Well done, Matt. You're definitely making steady progress. Every time we hear about it, is that you're moving forward, which is really good. And it's just, but like you said, I think that's the key, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know, and that's but slowly you do. So you'll get that. Awesome. I think that's brilliant. Well, I've been making a broomstick. I was showing you guys earlier of this, and so yeah, I made it's a besom actually, and we gathered most of the bits from the world outside, away from my computer, and collected them together. And I invited some friends over, and we watched a YouTube video. Well, I watched a YouTube video, and then we sat down together and we all made our own brooms, and we made them out of twigs that I found in the garden. So we've got rosemary in here, and we've got willow, and there's even some reeds and things from the plants that that I sell in my other life. And then I also bought a really kind of like Halloween-y style bunch of flowers, which had this amazing yellow thing. I don't even know what it is. And then it's got sort of some heather and stuff. So I'm hoping that some of it might sort of, like, these are all shriveling up, but I'm hoping that some of it will keep, and I can keep it for years to come. And the idea is that it's to sweep out the negative vibes, anything left over from the summer, and clear the decks for the new season, and the I don't know, the hibernation of winter. So these are all things I just made up. But it's just fun and it's beautiful, and it was a nice and crafty way to spend a few days with some fellow witches. And my daughter keeps wanting me to ride on it. But yeah, it's a short one. I don't think I'd fit on that. So but it's nice. I think it's really nice just to kind of, just like what you're doing, Matt, creating things. There's a lot of joy in making something, and then you can have it in the background. So I'm very pleased with that, and it was a nice way to spend some time with some friends as well. Crafting and chatting is a little bit less intensive than sort of sitting there and talking, and it's like going for a walk. So, shall we talk about today's topic then?
I suppose we should. Yeah.
So, what I thought we'd do is talk about what our worries are and what the sort of potential negatives could be from artificial intelligence in the gaming world specifically, and then in in our follow-up episode, we'll look at some of the positives. So we're not going to just be negative. So, don't, if you feel like we've got halfway through this episode and you're like, they're just saying all the bad stuff, don't worry, we will be coming to the good stuff later, of which there is a lot. So I just wanted to do a little quick overview of what sort of artificial intelligence is when it comes to gaming, because obviously, depending on how much you follow the news or how much you read, it can be anything from, I have to say it quietly, Alexa, to to the Matrix. And we've had so many like films and stories and TV series where artificial intelligence is the bad guy, and it's all doom and gloom. And I know that there are lots of people who are saying, we do have to be mindful of where it could go, and I think we do. But it's probably going to be far more mundane than the Matrix, or something along those lines. Within gaming, it potentially brings a lot of really exciting opportunities, and therefore the gaming world probably has been embracing it for maybe even longer than a lot of other industries, perhaps only behind probably military. Yeah. I would have thought they've been embracing it for quite a long time, but in the gaming world, some would argue that Pac-Man games were actually using a sort of basic form of AI, because the ghosts and Pac-Man himself had a sort of seeming that potted about and did their own thing, and then we bring it all the way up to sort of Middle Earth, Shadow of War, where the NPCs in there, if you attack some of them, then that will have implications for your interactions with that race or those groups of people or groups of NPCs or whatever down the line. So there's huge implications for the open world games, and the really big story led games that we play, as well as simulations and everything. So there's a lot that rides on how this plays out, but also with all of these things there are lots of opportunities for it to go awry, so what I thought we'd talk about in this episode is what are the fears, what are the things that we're worried AI might bring to gaming, and I think we will talk about the impact on, I'm looking at Matt when I say this, we will talk about the impact on the people that work in this industry, but I think we'll do that in sort of a little bit later in this episode, because that is such a big topic, and I know that you're going to have lots to say about that, Matt. So what I wanted to do was just throw it out to you. What do you think are the biggest, or if you could just give me maybe one or two each, thoughts on what the biggest threats are to gaming that you can imagine from artificial intelligence in the, let's say, near to medium term?
So in terms of us as gamers, the quality of the games that are going to be produced, because the driving force of corporations is to cut costs and maximize profits, and every penny that you don't spend on making the game, on hiring people to make things, is a penny that they can use just as profit. So if you say to them, "Oh, we can make an open world game randomly, procedurally generated," and if every other game is doing that, then if all these big studios are trying to do that, then it's competition, and when it's diluting things, because you can see all literally everything digital is artificial intelligence, because what artificial intelligences do is they read and write zeros and ones, and the sophistication of the artificial intelligence is how it can, the complexity of the things that it can recognize, what the 0 and 1 codes that it can recognize, and what it can churn out as a result. Because you can see every single Instagram filter is artificial intelligence adding onto that. And you can see artificial intelligence can write things, they can generate art. And the problem comes when they start replacing artists with artificial intelligences that they can just keep on pressing refresh until they like it. The biggest fucking quality-based worry I have is that procedurally generated stuff, because it's easy to sell it as, oh, anything can happen, when the fact is they're just randomly generating things that don't have the depth to them.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a worry. In a similar vein, I guess you could say the fear is that games will no longer have a soul, or that they won't be fun anymore. Because this is entirely based off of my one or / very few interactions with ChatGPT, where I decided to play a game with it. I think I was starting to play a word association game just to see what it would say. And it was coming up with all these very sort of corporate, sort of bland, clinical sorts of words. And I was just like, well, you're no fun to play with. I'm going to go now. And then I just told it I was leaving. And it was like, okay, bye. But I didn't really enjoy playing it, because it was just giving me back nothing inspiring to really work with. And it got to the point where we were just going around in circles because it wasn't very imaginative. But I don't know if that was the limitation on the tech particularly, or because we hadn't talked enough. Because that's another scary thing as well, is I guess that could be my second point, if I am allowed to blend one into two, is how much information is it going to be learning about you, which is always a worry about AI generally, not just in gaming. But it's already a problem with social media. We probably all have a lot of stuff known about us that other people or other organizations know that we probably don't want people to know, but it's got to the point where it's just normalized now, which is, again, another worry. But especially if player choice is involved and the player is shaping the course of the game, how much is that AI going to be learning about the things we like? And then again, as it is used nowadays, will that just be used to sell us more things, or to make us spend more money in the ways that it wants us to, or to advertise things to us that it thinks we might like, all for the purposes of making more money? I guess those are my main two things that crop into my head.
One thing that, again, I just thought of at the end of that is again, part of the cutting cost, maximizing profit is, do you think that if they spend less money making the game, that they're going to charge less for it? No, they are going to continue charging £70, £85, up and up and up, as long as it goes. And the more they use artificial intelligence, if it's not getting better, then you shouldn't be paying more for it. And it's made me think of Rishi Sunak in the UK announcing that he wants to lower the taxes for people making more than £100,000 a year as an effort to bribe those 5.6 million people into voting Conservative because they think their taxes are going to go down. But then you have to think, well, what are the Conservatives doing at the moment? The biggest thing, and their biggest goal is to destroy the NHS and replace it with an entirely privatized model, which is what they have in America. And once that happens, all bets are off the table in terms of it doesn't matter how frugal you are. You could live in a tent. You could eat off the land. You could drink creek water, and you'll be able to cut down your living expenses. But there is the only equalizer that can impact anyone to any extent is your health. It doesn't matter how frugal you are. If you break your leg and you don't have health insurance, or you don't have very good health insurance, you can be in debt for the rest of your life. And then all these people think, well, I've got my big pension. I've got my house that I own. Well, it's just these young people just need to buckle down and work harder. They think that their pensions are safe. They think that their houses are safe. Whereas what the long game is for these Conservatives is going, these idiots are going to vote for us while they're retired, and then thinking we respect their pensions and their houses, but we're just waiting to go, oh, now you're really old, you need a lot more healthcare. Sorry, your house is ours now. And that's the thing of them thinking, oh, these short-term cuttings of things are going to come back and bite you later on. And that's just idiot people thinking, oh, it'll be better in the long run. They'll be able to, thinking that they are going to act based on what is best for the gamers with the freedoms that we allow them to have. So if we gamers collectively say, oh, it'll be better if they use, I'm sure they'll do good things if they just get free reign to do whatever they want with artificial intelligence. I'm sure it'll be fine. Next thing you know, we're paying £100 for a game that it's just procedurally generated bollocks. And because every large company is doing it, then it's that space of going, oh, a couple of years down the line, you're sort of going, oh, we are completely screwed now, when we thought that it was going to get better for no reason. I've had that. That's another thing I've had in my head for a while. I just go, fuck these fucking people.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of people, a lot of older generations who are actually quite frankly terrified of what will happen to them at the point that they do need care, which the vast majority of us do. And I think that there are examples, some that I know of personally, where people have had plenty of cash in the bank and it hasn't protected them from appalling care within the NHS system because of the lack of staff and the lack of support and the lack of finances that are being put into that. So I think that may well be more important to a lot of that generation than a little bit of tax savings down the line. I think that the government may be rudely awakened to that fact. Hopefully, the sooner the better.
Shall we have a little gaming the system bet as to who is going to win the general election next year?
I think we should, but I'm not a betting person.
What about you, Alex?
Oh, well, I think, let's hope, well, I'm hopeful of change. I can't see why there wouldn't be any change at this stage. But, yeah, history tells us these things come in swings and roundabouts. So, yeah, we've had long enough.
My guess is the Conservatives are going to win. That's my bet.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, I don't think there's anything that suggests that. I think it's going to be, I think there's,
Anyway, back to
that
this.
is, we're right off topic now. So back onto AI. So yeah, absolutely. I think that those are some really big concerns. I think that, when I think about like content generation from AI, it's like I've seen those pictures where it's somebody's got 3 arms or an extra ear and all sorts of stuff. But AI is kind of
taking
it's
baby steps.
it's trying, but it doesn't. Yeah, and I think that there's a risk that if it gets used too much in gaming, certainly in the earlier days, that we're going to have sort of jarring things within the game that just make you go like, why did they do that? Or even to the point of like NPCs. One of the things is obviously that NPCs might be able to behave more naturally or have larger, more distinct stories. But what if those stories are, the equivalent of an extra arm or eyes or whatever, then that's going to be really weird. You're just going to be wandering about in the game and something odd will be happening in the background. And I think that it is something that could make the gaming could have a really sort of impactful impact on the gaming experience. And I think that one of the other issues is that at the end of the day, AI is only as good as the content that it has to draw from. And one of the things that we've done a lot in our show is talk about how up until very recently, and we would argue to quite a big degree, can still, games are misogynistic, patriarchal, they're capitalistic, they're violent, they are simplistic, they maintain tropes and stereotypes that we don't want to see. They're not diverse, they're not inclusive, and if AI is drawing from those to make decisions going forward about what the games are going to be like, there's a big risk that it's just going to pick up all of that and just sort of introduce all of that into the gaming future to probably a very insidious degree. I think that's my concern, is that it would just sort of underpin everything. It's like it is sort of what's it called? Institutionalized racism and sexism. The reason they are so problematic is because most of the time we don't even realize that that's what's going on. We don't even understand that those are the things happening that is impacting on the outcomes in various situations. Unconscious bias is such a problem because it is unconscious, and even those of us who work really hard to tackle that and those thoughts and that cultural impact on us, we all struggle at times. We all think things that are not in line with how we would like to be, or we say things and go, I'm not so sure that was the right thing to say, and that's for those of us who are mindful of it. And I think like unconscious bias and internalized isms and all of those things are a massive problem, and they unfortunately seep into everything, and it's everything that the AI goes to create new things. And so I think my concern is that, just like we've spoken about so many times, like how real world issues are replicated in games or on social media platforms or, in all of those spaces, I don't see that at the moment. I don't see anyone really doing a lot to protect against that happening with AI, and we know that it is happening with AI. And I don't think that people have thought enough about how to tackle that.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.